When my parents landed in Europe, the first thing they saw was not a bellhop, not a tray of champagne, not the sweeping lobby they had pictured for months. It was a front desk clerk shaking her head. Their suitcases were stacked beside them. My mother already had her sunglasses on top of her head like she was posing for a photo. My father was holding the printed confirmation I had once emailed to myself a dozen times. The clerk repeated herself slowly in careful English. I am sorry. There is no reservation under this name. It was cancelled. All of it. My mother's smile collapsed. My father's voice went up that half octave it always did when he felt his control slipping. People in the marble lobby began to stare. But their surprise did not start in that hotel. It started that morning, in our quiet little suburb, when I pulled into their driveway with my own suitcase in the trunk, itinerary printed, passport in my bag, ready for the 1 week in Europe I had spent 2 years saving for. I did not know that by the time I parked, they had already made a decision. A decision that replaced me. A decision that rewrote everything. My name is Nora, and for most of my life I told myself that my family was not broken, just lopsided. A little heavy on one side. A little unfair, but still technically standing. It was easier to believe that than to admit the truth, that I was the one holding up most of the weight while everyone else pretended they were carrying their share. I grew up on the north side of the city in one of those streets people describe as nice when they drive through. Fresh-cut lawns. Hydrangeas along the fences. Neighbors who waved too long. From the outside it looked peaceful. Inside, it was always the same picture. My mother, Mary Ann, arranging flowers at the kitchen window, checking reflections in the glass more than the petals. My father, Arthur, smoothing out the newspaper at the table, nodding like he agreed with columns he barely read. And somewhere behind them, always behind them, was my younger sister, Leah, drifting through the house like a storm the forecast never predicted. And then there was me. The one doing whatever needed to be done when everyone else forgot. I handled bills when they lost them. I sat on hold with insurance. I drove them to appointments when Arthur did not feel like dealing with traffic. I picked up Leah from the ruins of whatever she had broken this time. A roommate she screamed at. A boss she cursed out. A landlord she forgot to pay. It never mattered if I had just worked a 10-hour day. I was the steady one. The responsible one. The one who could be counted on because I did not complain. Because I had learned early that in our house, complaining was treated like drama and dismissed. My mother called Leah fragile. She said it with this soft, pitying tone, like it was a diagnosis instead of a choice. For a long time, I believed her. I thought I was strong and Leah was breakable, so I convinced myself it made sense that everything bent around her. Then I realized fragility was not the real reason. Leah did not need protection. She needed enabling. And my parents were excellent at it. Still, I kept trying. Every birthday I planned. Every holiday dinner I helped cook. Every late-night rescue mission. Every, sure, I can cover it this time, that came out of my mouth when Leah's rent was due again. All of it was my way of saying, look, I am useful. I am worth keeping. The idea for the Europe trip started on a night when I let myself imagine a different version of us. Not perfect, just a little softer around the edges. We were sitting in the living room and my mother made an offhand comment about how it was such a shame they had never traveled anywhere outside the country. She said it the way some people talk about missed high school dances, like it was a chapter that could never be opened again. Something in me reacted. I worked in finance. I knew what I made. I knew what I spent. I knew what I could save if I tried. So I did. 2 years of overtime. 2 years of saying no to trips with friends. 2 years of packing cheap lunches, skipping takeout, living in a tiny rented studio that smelled like old paint, just so I could watch a particular number in my savings account climb. I built a spreadsheet. I picked 3 cities they had always talked about. Seeing. I booked beautiful, simple hotels with real views, not just city-side walls. I reserved a river cruise, a historical walking tour, a day trip out to the countryside. The confirmations sat in a neat folder in my inbox under a label called June. My suitcase sat by the door the night before the trip. Clothes rolled tight. Travel-sized bottles lined up in a row. Passport in the outer pocket of my bag. I triple-checked the alarms on my phone and laid out my jeans and sweater on the chair. I knew my parents would never organize something like this themselves. I thought maybe, Just maybe, if I did it for us, we would finally have 1 week where I was not the backup plan. That morning, I told myself a story I had told myself 100 times before. This time will be different. The sun was already bright when I turned onto their street. I could see their house from half a block away. Curtains open, lights on. More movement than I expected for that hour. I parked in the driveway like I always did, engine ticking as it cooled. I stepped out, smoothed my shirt, and grabbed my purse. The suitcase in the trunk thumped softly when I opened it, familiar, comforting. I pulled it out, rolled it behind me, and walked up the path to the front door, rehearsing the greeting in my head. Ready for Europe? I did not even get to knock. The door opened and Leia stepped out. She was not in sweatpants. She was not half awake. She was wearing a travel outfit like she had curated it on purpose. Comfortable but cute clothes. A crossbody bag. Her hair done. Her makeup just enough. And beside her, upright and waiting on the porch, was a suitcase. Not mine. Hers. I stopped halfway up the steps. What are you doing? I asked. She did not look guilty. She did not look surprised. She looked prepared. Morning, she said. You are right on time. A cold, heavy feeling started in my chest. For what? I asked. My mother appeared behind her, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel that did not need wiping. She wore a smile I recognized, the one she used when she already knew my answer did not matter. Oh, Nora, good. You are here, she chirped. My eyes flicked from Leia's suitcase to my mother's face. Why does she have luggage? I asked. Marianne clasped her hands and tilted her head, like she was about to break disappointing news to a stranger, not her own daughter. We have decided, she began, to take Leia instead of you. For a second, the words did not register. They floated there, meaningless. My brain delayed them, as if it could buy time by refusing to translate. What? I said softly. She has been under so much stress lately, my mother went on, her voice sliding into that low, sympathetic tone she never used on me. Your sister really needs a break. Some rest. So we just thought it would be best to take her. Behind her, Arthur shifted in the doorway, eyes fixed somewhere over my shoulder. It just seemed like the right thing, he murmured. Leia gripped the handle of her suitcase, trying for a contrite expression and failing. I mean, I did not even ask, she said. They insisted. They said I deserved this after everything I have been dealing with. Everything she had been dealing with. An unfinished job application. A landlord calling me because she had not paid. A fight with a friend she ghosted. The usual trail of mess someone else always cleaned up. I swallowed hard. Instead of me, I repeated. My mother nodded slowly, as if I were a child and she was relieved I had caught up. You are always working, sweetheart, she said. You can take another trip later. You understand. That word again. Understand. I looked at the three of them. My mother with her gentle cruelty. My father with his safe distance. My sister with her suitcase and her fake apology. The morning felt too bright. The birdsong in the trees sounded wrong in my ears. 2 years of overtime sat folded in my trunk. 2 years of sacrifice, transferred in a sentence. I felt something move inside me. Not break, not explode. Crystallize. I had 2 choices. Argue. Beg. Plead my case, like I always had, knowing they had already decided. Or do something else. I chose something else. When are you leaving? I asked. Marianne relaxed a little at my calm. In about an hour, she said. We still need you to drive us to the airport. It will save on parking and shuttles. You know how your father hates those. There it was. I was out of the trip, but still useful as transportation. A familiar role. Just dressed in a new outfit. I nodded once. Fine, I said. Get your things. The drive to the airport felt like being trapped in someone else's dream. Leia chatted from the back seat about outfits and cafes she wanted to try, like this trip had always been hers. My mother flipped through the printed itinerary I had put together. Every time she gasped over a detail, it hit me like a small, precise knife. Oh, we have a river cruise booked the first night, perfect. There is a private tour for the cathedral. Leia, you will love this. We should try this restaurant here. It looks classy. We, she said. Never, you. Arthur sat quietly, staring out the window, saying nothing that would risk turning this into conflict. "Thank you for driving us," he said once, low, like he tasted the words. "Sure," I replied. Leia leaned forward and tapped my shoulder. "Make sure you drop us at the departures closer to our airline," she said. "I do not want to drag my bags too far." I tightened my hands on the wheel to keep from laughing. The sound that wanted to come out of my chest was not pleasant. When we pulled up to the departure lane, I parked. I got out. I opened the trunk and lifted their suitcases out one by one. The cart rattled as I arranged them. My mother kissed my cheek. "You are such a good daughter," she said. "This really helps us." I stepped back. "I know," I said. Leia hugged me quickly, already half turned toward the sliding doors. "Thanks, Noor. You are the best," she said, and meant it only as far as convenience went. I watched them walk into the terminal. No one looked back. I stayed there for a minute, hand on the cart, the warm air thick around me, car engines and rolling wheels a dull roar in my ears. Then I pushed the cart to the curb, turned, and walked back to my car. By the time I pulled out of the airport, my mind was clear in a way that scared me a little. I drove straight home. My suitcase was still sitting by my apartment door when I got back, upright and hopeful. I locked the door behind me, dropped my keys on the counter, and went straight to my desk. I opened my laptop. Every reservation I had booked over those 2 years was still there in my email. Flights, hotels, tours, transfers. All of it had my name on it. My card. My effort. They had replaced me on the trip. They had not replaced the person who owned every booking. I clicked open the airline confirmation and stared at my name in the top corner. Last name, first name. Owner. I hovered over the first button that mattered. Modify/cancel reservation. Most people would have called the hotel and begged them to reinstate it. Most people would have convinced themselves they were taking the high road. I had run out of roads. One by one, I cancelled everything. The long-haul flights. The hotel with the river view. The cathedral tour. The countryside day trip. The river cruise. Each time a small window popped up, asking if I was sure, I clicked yes. Refunds processed back to my card. Credits stored in my frequent flyer account. By the time the last confirmation email arrived, my shoulders had dropped an inch. The tightness in my chest loosened. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel cruel. I felt balanced. They had taken the trip away from me. I had taken the bill away from them. The first message came in just as I knew it would, hours after their plane landed on the other side of the ocean. A text from my mother. "Something is wrong. Hotel says our reservation is cancelled. Fix this." Then another. "Nora, call the hotel now. They say the account owner cancelled. You booked everything. What did you do?" Then one from Leia. "This is not funny. They say we are not on the tours either. Fix it." I put my phone face down on the table and made myself a sandwich. The second set of messages came in as voicemails. My mother, near frantic. "The girl at the front desk says there is nothing she can do without you. Why would you do this? We are stranded. This is childish. Call back." Leia, furious. "You are being insane. You are punishing us because you were not mature enough to handle staying home. Call the hotel and tell them it was a mistake." My father, worn out. "This has gone too far. Whatever you are trying to prove, call us, Nora. We will sort it out." I did not answer. This time they could sort it out themselves. The next morning, they sent photos. My parents standing in front of the hotel I had booked, luggage scattered around their feet, both looking rumpled and angry. A screenshot from the hotel email. "We confirm your reservation was cancelled by the original booking holder." A picture of a small, cramped room in some budget hotel far from the city center. Twin beds. One small window. No view. Leia sitting on a hard bench in the lobby, glare aimed straight at the camera. "You ruined everything," the caption read. I made coffee and smiled into the mug. I had not ruined anything. I had just stopped rescuing them from reality. By the time they flew back home, the tone of their messages had shifted. The anger had burned out. What was left was something closer to panic. From Arthur. "This has been a mess. We need to talk when we get back. Please." From my mother. We are home Sunday afternoon. Come over. We need to clear this up. From Leia. So I guess we are just enemies now. Whatever. I did not respond to any of them. Instead, Sunday afternoon found me sitting on their front porch, legs crossed, hands folded, waiting. Their taxi pulled into the driveway. The three of them climbed out. They did not look like people returning from a glamorous European vacation. They looked tired. My father's shirt was wrinkled. My mother's hair was frizzy from travel. Leia's usual composure was gone, replaced with a permanent scowl. Leia saw me first. "Oh, perfect," she muttered. "She is here." My mother squared her shoulders and tried to pull her dignity back on like a coat that no longer fit. "You owe us an explanation," she said. I stayed seated. "What do you want me to explain?" I asked. "That trip was a disaster," she snapped. "We had to stay in a tiny room 30 minutes outside the city. The tour company kept telling us we were not on any list. We spent 3 days fixing problems you created." "Yes," I said. "That sounds familiar." Arthur frowned. "You could have called someone," he said. "You could have fixed it. You know how these systems work." I stood up then and walked down one step so we were almost level. "I did fix it," I said quietly. "I fixed the part where I pay for a trip I was uninvited from." Marianne blinked. "You are being dramatic," she said. "We thought you would understand." Leia needed a break. "From what?" I asked. "From not having a job. From sleeping in until noon. From handing her problems to everyone else. I needed a break too. I worked for that trip. I saved for it. I planned every detail. And you replaced me without blinking. You could have shared," she shot back. "We are a family. These things happen. Sometimes we need to adjust." I nodded slowly. "You are right," I said. "These things do happen. Sometimes people show you exactly how little they value you. Sometimes they make it very clear that you are the first thing they are willing to cut when it is convenient. And sometimes, finally, you adjust." Leia scoffed. "You ruined our week," she said. "You embarrassed us in front of everyone there. We looked like idiots at that desk." I looked at her evenly. "I did not ruin your week," I said. "I just stopped letting you ruin mine." Arthur ran a hand over his face. "We never meant to hurt you," he said, softer now. "We thought you would understand. We thought you would be reasonable." Reasonable. Another word they liked to lean on when they wanted me to swallow something that should have choked them. "You do not get to call this reasonable," I replied. "You took what I paid for. You replaced me. You expected me to drop you off at departures, and then sit quietly at home while you enjoyed something I spent 2 years building." "It was one trip," my mother said. "No," I said. "It was every trip. Every time you chose her over me. Every time you told me to understand. Every time you treated my time and my effort like they were yours to allocate." Silence settled across the porch. Even the birds seemed to pause. Arthur finally met my eyes. "So what now?" he asked. "You are just done with us." I shook my head. "I am done being your fixer," I said. "I am done being the backup daughter who drives, pays, and quietly disappears when you decide she is no longer convenient. You can still be my family if you want to behave like one. But I will not be used like this again." My mother's jaw clenched. "You cannot just cut us off every time you are offended," she said. "I am not offended," I said calmly. "I am finished." I stepped off the porch and walked toward my car. "Nora," Leia called after me, her voice sharper than before. "You cannot be serious. You are really this mad over a trip?" I turned back once. "I am not this angry about a trip," I said. "I am this done with being replaced and expected to smile about it." Then I got in my car and left. Not with dramatic music. Not with slammed doors. Just with the quiet certainty of someone who finally recognized where she ended and her family's expectations began. The days that followed were not easy. People like to pretend that once you set a boundary, you immediately feel strong and empowered. Most of the time you feel shaky. Guilty. Like you are learning to walk again. My phone filled with messages I read slowly. From Arthur. "I am sorry. I should have said something that morning. I knew it was wrong and I stayed quiet. That is on me." From my mother. "You have made your point. We are all hurt. We just want our family back." From Leia. Whatever. Enjoy your little power trip. I replied to my father eventually. I told him I appreciated the apology. I told him I needed time. I did not respond to my mother right away. I did not respond to Leia at all. Without their constant demands, my life became quiet in ways I had never experienced. I went to work. I cooked simple meals. I took walks after dinner without checking my phone. The absence of their emergencies felt strange at first, like a noise had stopped and my ears kept ringing. One night I opened my old Europe spreadsheet again. I expected to feel bitterness. Instead, I felt opportunity. That money had always been meant for an experience worth remembering. So I booked a different one. A solo trip. Just me. Italy this time. Rome first. Then Florence. No compromises. No detours based on anyone else's mood. No last-minute substitutions. When I stepped off the plane weeks later, the air was warm and soft. I took my own suitcase off the carousel, walked out into the arrivals hall, and hailed a taxi without texting anyone my location for approval. I ate when I was hungry. I stayed in front of paintings as long as I liked. I changed plans because I felt like it, not because someone else demanded it. I watched sunsets without having to narrate them for anyone. For the first time in my life, travel was not work. It was not logistics and conflict management. It was just mine. Freedom, I learned, is not loud. It is steady. It is waking up and realizing there is no message waiting that demands you sacrifice yourself today. By the time I flew home, I knew something that my family had hoped I would never figure out. Love is not measured by how much you give. It is measured by whether anyone ever gives back. Setting boundaries did not destroy my family. It just revealed what was already cracked, and what might finally be rebuilt if people were willing to do the work. My parents and I still talk now, but on my terms. Calls that end when I say I am tired. Visits that do not include little favors hidden in the middle. Conversations where they ask how I am, not just what I can do. Leia and I are civil. Not close. I do not rescue her anymore. She has a job now. A real one. It turns out when I stopped catching her, she learned how to land. When I look back, I do not replay their week in that budget hotel with any kind of joy. I do not care about the missed tours or the bad beds. I think about the moment I realized I could cancel their power over me as easily as I canceled their bookings. That was the real trip. So if you grew up being the fixer, the responsible one, the reliable one everyone leaned on while stepping over you, hear me clearly. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. You are allowed to stop funding other people's comfort with your time, your money, your sanity. You are allowed to step out of the background of your own life. If my story hit something inside you, tell me in the comments. And if you want more cold, steady justice like this, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss the next story. You are not crazy for wanting better. You are not cruel for walking away. You are just finally, quietly, free.